Anyone can work harder, earn slightly here and there, but ultimately earning is just one part of it. Saving is the next aspect which unlocks financial freedom. People losing money on WazirX means that they would look negatively of the crypto ecosystem on itself, because these users will now treat everyone with a similar light, because they have been on the receiving end on what has happened to WazirX, right? So the idea was to how do we restore trust and balance into the ecosystem. That is why we launched the 600 crore initiative to help recover the lost money on the WazirX alleged hack, right? A lot of people probably posting on social media that, are they becoming millionaires because they were early into the crypto space, and rest of us who felt like, what is this crypto that suddenly came along, and what is this, and why I'm not making money, and people are making crores and probably thousands or tens of thousands of percent return on their investment. I think they took advantage of the knowledge gap that existed in the ecosystem, the hype around crypto. So that's what happened with Bitconnect as well.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Desi Fire podcast. I am your host, Ravi Handa, and today I have with me Ashish from CoinSwitch. Welcome, Ashish. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ravi, for taking the time out and speaking to me.
Always a pleasure. And Ashish, for our listeners, is the CEO of CoinSwitch, which is one of the biggest players in crypto in India right now. And I thought it would be good to have a conversation with someone who can guide us, people who may have the capacity to invest in crypto, but don't really know how to and are scared with the scams that they hear about. So for today, the sort of theme that we have is, what are these scams in crypto? How can you protect yourself from them? And what is a realistic way of making money? So that being said, Ashish runs another company in the personal finance space called Lemon. So that would be my first question to you, Ashish. So you are running two separate companies in two very related fields. At the end of the day, it's about money. So can you tell us a little bit about what both these companies do, and why do you need two companies for that? Why can't you do it just under one company?
Sure. So from my perspective, I, to be honest, run only one company, which is to help India make money, to make money simple, easy for like all individuals, and obviously try to simplify as much as possible about investment. I'll take up probably a 2 minute monologue and explain you where I come from, so that you understand
Please
what
go
these
ahead.
companies represent, why two companies, and what we are trying to solve here, right? Myself, Ashish, I come from a small town in Meerut. As any middle class would tell you that there are struggles with money. I also struggled a lot. My parents, were not, obviously there would be struggles every month to pay school fee, college fee, and those struggles have actually made me who I am, right? And when I started my career, I'm a computer science grad. Started my career with Amazon, worked with Microsoft as well. Opened a startup, had to shut down. Worked at a startup, and started CoinSwitch in 2017 with a very simple mission to make money equal for all. What it meant was the kind of upbringing I came from. I felt that there was no one who was helping my parents invest better, do better. They would struggle. They would work 12 hours, 14 hours every single day to earn as much as they can, and then try to spend as cautiously as possible and save a little bit of it. But even that saving was not getting compounded or getting invested in the right manner, which can help fulfill the dreams or solve for their future problems, right? Because obviously anyone can work harder, earn slightly here and there, but ultimately earning is just one part of it. Saving is the next aspect which unlocks financial freedom for a lot of people, right? So that's where my heart lies, and that's what we always wanted to do. My co-founders Govind and Vimal also comes from similar backgrounds. We've been friends for over 17 years now, met on day one of college, and could relate to each other very well because all of us have the very similar upbringing coming into the picture, right? Our mission has always been broader, beyond crypto. We always wanted to solve wealth for people. Crypto was a key part of it because in 2017 we realized that a lot of people are afraid of crypto. That was one area that nobody had mastered or simplified enough for retail users to think of it even as an investment asset class, right? Stock, mutual fund, there were a few players doing a good job, but we always wanted to start with crypto but end at a broader well-tech problem, which is includes obviously crypto, mutual funds, stocks, IPOs, or anything under the investment bucket, right? And that's why we always wanted to create a wider portfolio, and through both Lemon and CoinSwitch we are able to do that, to able to simplify wealth for millions and millions of people in India, right? And that's why these two companies exist. I'm the founder, or I'm the CEO of the parent entity, which is called People Co, which holds both of these brands under it, right? So my mission ultimately is singular, which is make money equal for all, helping people with the right tools across asset classes, helping them make better decisions with their savings and money and grow their money, right? So that's where my background or my passion comes from, and in running these two companies.
Fair. So, to be really honest, over the past couple of episodes, we have had uh, fund managers on the show, proper mutual fund managers, and people running their PMSs as well. I'm trying to say that the stock market and that personal finance part is covered. What I would want to talk to you about is the coin switch part or the crypto part. Bitcoin hit 100K around a couple of months ago. Big party at the office.
Yes. I think beyond that, it was just I don't know, a relief, a kind of accomplishment in a way, because we've been working in crypto, and obviously there are so many doubts. So we've been in crypto since almost 2013, 14, right? We've been trading, understood the white paper, realized that could have a amazing potential, right? And sometimes you start to doubt yourself in beer cycles. Oh, is it gonna be that thing that's really gonna change something? Through those beer cycles, bull runs, we have continued to stay invested, making sure that we are also making slight progress in the right direction, making simplifying crypto for Indians. So 100K is not just obviously Bitcoin reaching 100K is an accomplishment for all of us, but I also feel that CoinSwitch has a little bit part to play in helping it reach 100K, and our belief, our continuous building in the space is kind of rewarded, or kind of validated that we are on the right track. Things may go up and down, but continually believing in yourself, believing in the blockchain technology has helped Bitcoin reach where it is, and hopefully there's just one milestone amongst many others which are yet to come.
Fair, fair. So, do you own personally some bitcoins?
Absolutely, right. So, I used to say that I advise people not to invest their full wealth into crypto. But at one point in time, like 99% of what I own, apart from that, I used to own just one bicycle. Apart from that, everything would be invested into crypto, right? And obviously, my company was in crypto, and it's not that I come from a family of wealth. At one point in time, the entire thing, and I haven't sold. So, like, whatever I had invested in Bitcoin at that point, and I continue to hold. I have not sold, and I continue to hold those Bitcoins even today.
Yeah. How many?
Enough. So I think
Enough.
a lot of
Fair,
people regret, oh,
fair.
I would have bought it at this, I wanted to this price. I don't do that. I feel that, what I had done, I think was right. I could have done more, but like, it's okay. I think it's part of life, and I think I have enough in life to sustain.
Fair. And where do you keep these bitcoins?
So I keep it on one of the safest places that I know of, which is on CoinSwitch. And we'll obviously talk about how CoinSwitch is secure and help people invest better securely on in crypto.
Um, Fair, man. See, the well, you know a lot about it. At CoinSwitch, I don't. And I actually used to hold it on WazirX,
Okay.
and where the hack happened. And that's one of the ways people
Yeah.
lose money, is that you keep it with someone or somewhere you trust, and it's because of something happening to them, uh, you lose money. Like I personally lost money in that. I believe you folks also had some exposure to that hack, or maybe you had money over there. I'm not exactly sure
Sure.
what happened, and there is some legal case going on for the for the WazirX hack,
Yeah.
in which CoinSwitch is involved in. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What happened
Sure.
there? Because a bunch of people lost. So first of all, what happened in the hack, and maybe perhaps any idea of what's happening today or what the current status is?
Sure, sure. So I think on July 18th or 17th, I think where it was communicated by their team that there was an alleged hack that happened onto their system. They held, I think at that point, about 450 million worth of crypto overall. Out of that, 220 million was reportedly hacked by a hacker from their system, right? So at that point in time, any user holding anything on, say, if you hold $100 on WazirX, probably it has become 55 because 45% has been stolen. So we as CoinSwitch, we work with a lot of exchanges as well. So we are not just an exchange but an exchange aggregator. Why we are an exchange aggregator is because that helps us provide the best price to the user. So maybe CoinSwitch exchange does not have the best price for it, but say WazirX has. We will go fetch it from WazirX for our users to get the best price at any execution. So we were partnering with WazirX as well in helping user provide the best price on CoinSwitch, right? And obviously, to execute orders, you have to keep some money with WazirX. We have had, I think, roughly around 80 to 85 crore worth of crypto at that time on WazirX. So we were also hurt by this, alleged hack and 45% haircut on that, right? So but our agreement with them being in India, and they are now taking proceedings. I don't want to get into legalities of it. They're now taking proceedings to Singapore. We are fighting a case that we were registered as a broker and not a normal user, because we were executing orders on our users behalf on them, and that broker agreement holds is under the Indian jurisdiction, and we are fighting in the Indian court to recover our money.
Okay. So basically, you guys also lost money in that. Bye bye. Just ये है that your amount is much bigger than my amount, but well, you guys also started some sort of a recovery
Yes.
fund. I read a news article about it when I was preparing for this interview, that some 600 crore fund was launched by you folks
Yeah.
to help folks with the WazirX hack. So, A, can you please tell me a little bit, our users, about what that fund is, how that helps? And
Sure.
B, boss, I have lost money. How do I get, my fair share or whatever
Yes.
is from that 600 crore for that? Because I had no idea.
So I think the idea is very simple. WazirX had some of the early investors. They were, one of the few pioneers, early pioneers into the crypto space. So they have a lot of old crypto user base on them, right? Losing money is also equated to losing trust. And people losing money on WazirX means that they would look negatively of the crypto ecosystem on itself. And the kind of growth that we expect Indian markets to have will have a very negative impact, because these users will now treat everyone with a similar light, because they have been on the receiving end on what has happened to WazirX, right? So the idea was to how do we restore trust and balance into the ecosystem, and at the same time these users who are who already know how crypto ecosystem works, and if crypto continues to grow in India, these users will play a big part and can coin switch, try to get these users as well, benefit them in try to recover their money, and also take them further in help as the crypto ecosystem grows. We can grow along with those users as well. So that is why we launched the 600 crore initiative to help recover the lost money on the WazirX alleged hack. Right? How this work is very very simple. Any crypto user who wants to invest even now or want to wait for WazirX to open withdrawals, they can simply choose CoinSwitch as their platform. Today, I think WazirX has announced that everyone will get 85% of the value which was at 17th or 18th of July, right? So every user will lose 15% of the original value plus notional losses because the markets have gone quite up from there. But let's just talk about those 15%, right? Now, through this 600 crore program, every WazirX user who was impacted by this hack can make full recovery. How do you do that? Once the WazirX open withdrawals, or even before that, if you want to invest in crypto, you do that through CoinSwitch by signing up for our program, and then any deposit that you do on our platform, you can earn up to 10% of the value deposited on the CoinSwitch platform. So say if WazirX withdrawal are open, you have now 85 bucks, you invested 100, but now you have only 85. You deposit 85 onto CoinSwitch. So 8.5 rupees you can claim as your sign up bonus, which will make your recovery to 93.5. Now, through all of those users who are now signing up for this program, CoinSwitch would also earn revenue because they will do trading. They will take a lot of crypto services from CoinSwitch. So any revenue that we earn from those users are distributed back to them to make up for their losses until it reaches 100% for the next 2 years. So the remaining 6.5 rupees, or which we would earn as revenue through the people who are participating in this program, we will give it back and distribute it proportionally to their losses to make sure that they make 100% of their recovery. Right. So this is how the program works. Simply sign up for CoinSwitch Cares, which is our 600 crore program to help recover the remaining 15%, which WazirX will not be able to give you. Come to CoinSwitch, deposit your cryptos, your INR onto CoinSwitch, get up to 10% sign up reward, and the remaining rewards you will receive as part of our regular distribution. Anything that we make through those users will be redistributed back in proportion of their losses to make up for 100% recovery.
Fair. I have some follow-up questions on this, and to be really honest, because I am going to do this.
Sure.
So I had roughly 2 lakh rupees in various coins when the hack happened on WazirX. And after that, what has happened, I have no idea. I don't even check the app, etc. anymore. What I know is I'm still not allowed to withdraw. The withdrawals are not open. Today, what do I need to do? Today, I need to go to CoinSwitch, or do I need to, how do I prove to you that I'm one of the people impacted by the hack? So that's my first question. So how do I come to you saying that, okay, I want to apply for this program? How do I do that?
Sure. So when you come to CoinSwitch, there is a segment called CoinSwitch Cares. So CoinSwitch Cares. So you come to the website, it'll ask you, few questions on, how much were you invested in, which coin you held, how much do you trade, and ask for your report from WazirX. So it'll show you, go to WazirX, log in into your account, click here to download a report and upload that report, which becomes our verification process. Now somebody can, fake that as well. But I'll come to how the next verification works a little later. But this is all. Once you upload that statement, we analyze that statement. Now we know how much crypto you held on WazirX, what is their value, how much you have lost, and how much you are eligible for. Then we tell you that what do you need to do now? How much will you receive money as sign-up bonus? How much you have received through referral bonus, and how much you will receive through transactional revenue sharing. And how much more will you make up for? If you only are receiving 85% from WazirX, will you be able to recover 100% or not? If not, what is the percentage you will be able to recover? CoinSwitch will give you right information there itself. After that, the process is very simple. Now you know how much you can benefit from CoinSwitch Cares program. And once you say that, oh, this works for me, you simply download CoinSwitch app. If you deposit anything, so even you want to invest in the crypto market even today, every deposit that you do is eligible for sign up bonus. So if you don't want to wait for WazirX withdrawal to be available to you, and you want to take advantage of the bull run today, you can say invest 10,000 rupees and get up to 10% on that as well. So you can start your recovery from today itself. But many of the users may not have additional funds to invest into crypto. They would want to wait for WazirX to open withdrawals before they, start being active in the crypto ecosystem. So you can wait there then as well. So once say WazirX open withdrawals, in your case, you will receive say 170,000 back from them mostly in terms of crypto. You can now deposit that on CoinSwitch. Once you deposit that, you are eligible for 17,000 rupees of rewards, which makes your total to 187,000. The next 13,000 you can make up. Either you can refer more people who have been impacted by WazirX hack, or on our platform, whenever you do any transactions, we make any transaction fee from that, we collate all of those users' fee together and distribute in the ratio of their losses. So your 13,000 will get recovered probably in the next 6 months of you joining this program and starting being active on the platform. The idea is that this program is active for the next 2 years, trying to make as much as losses recover as possible. Our estimation today is that within the year, less than a year of this program, you will be able to recover 100% of your funds based on our estimates of the transaction fee that these pool will generate.
Fair, man. I am definitely going to give it a shot. And if there are people who are watching who have been impacted by the WazirX hack, I would strongly suggest that you give it a try as well. Hacking an exchange getting hacked is one part of it. There was another scam that I read about, which was Bitconnect. I remember that from an old John Oliver video where people are shouting Bitconnect very loudly. Very recently, I found out that this was actually being done from Gujarat or Ahmedabad or something like that. Some guy got caught there. What was that scam? Can you tell us a little bit more about that one?
My understanding of that scam is that was an MLM scam, right? And MLM, if a lot of people don't know, it's like multi-level marketing. So what you do, it's like a pyramid scheme, in a way of a pyramid scheme, where you promise return to one guy, take money from him, and give it to the other guy, and you keep on doing that, and people feel like, oh, they're making money, but actually more and more people are giving back that money, and they're redistributing only the money that they're receiving to the rest of the people, and keep on creating kind of a pyramid and having so many people now give you money, assuming that they will get amazing returns on it, and at the end they just take away all the money, right? So initially few investors get money back or get their returns back, but most of the people end up losing money because again, it's a multi-level marketing scam. So that's what happened with Bitconnect as well, right? A lot of people, because crypto was new, so it had nothing to do with crypto, but it was done using crypto as a tool because crypto was a very new technology. A lot of people were probably posting on social media that, oh, they are becoming millionaires because they were early into the crypto space altogether, and rest of us who felt like, oh, what is this crypto that suddenly came along, and what is this, and why I'm not making money, and people are making crores and probably thousands or tens of thousands of % return on their investment. I think they took advantage of the knowledge gap that existed in the ecosystem, the hype around crypto, and marketed this MLM as a currency MLM. They would say that, probably invest $10,000 and I'll give you 100% or 100% return every month. I don't know the obviously the details of it. I'm just
Fair.
giving you
Fair. So
my understanding of
basically,
it.
I have heard similar stories about emu farms. I have heard similar stories about sandalwood trees. So MLMs come in various formats.
Yes. Yes.
Crypto
It,
was
yeah,
just
yeah.
a
So it
tool.
comes in whatever format which users are unaware of, but they would have heard good stories about people making money in that. And they feel like, oh, why don't I give money to someone who knows this better than me? And returns, I've heard that people have earned these rewards. So they might be true. And I'm giving it to an expert who assures me that he will make that money or that those returns, right? So that is how those ploy work. And this have been done for years and hundreds of years now, right? That any new industry comes in or any new phenomena comes in, people who want to scam would also come in and try to create the information gap and creating greed among people, that, oh, I am knowledgeable and I can get this done for you. Give me money and I will, double it every 14 days, like, that Akshay Kumar's favorite 14 din paisa double, right? So like,
21,
and
21.
people, हाँ 21 दिन में पैसा डबल, right? So like, and people get kind of trapped ultimately on this, because of obviously their greed and obviously the other guys selling it so well to them, and a technology which they don't know anything about, and they believe maybe this is possible, maybe this is a new thing and I'm very early to it, and that's why, I could make money where others have lost money. So it is just another MLM scam that
That
was happening for years. Yeah.
fair. Then there was STA that I read about in Odisha,
Odisha.
which actually impacted, even people who run mom and pop small grocery stores, even those guys were invested. I keep hearing stories about it. What the STA one was also another MLM or
Yes, again, so every story that you would hear, it is
is
just
MLM?
on the premise of, yeah, it's ultimately anyone who is promising you return, which is exceptional, and maybe, some of the people would also tell you that, oh, I actually have received those returns, and they are actually telling you the truth, because that's how they get you, right? Initially, you will receive those returns, but you will feel like, oh, if I've doubled 1,000 rupees, what if I have doubled 1 lakh rupees? And you would put 1 lakh, and then the level of scam will keep on increasing. So there are many like HPZ, which gave instant loans to people, and kind of through created fake accounts, fake merchant accounts on various PGs in India, including Razorpay and others, and tried
Correct,
to
correct.
get
I
money from people.
remember
Yeah,
reading Razorpay, I believe PayU and a couple of other
yeah,
payment
yeah,
gateways are in soup
yeah.
because of HPZ.
Yes, yeah.
So,
So most of these scams are about not about investing in crypto. Probably they're not even touching crypto in any single way. It's just creating a hype, creating an information which other person cannot validate. Other person feel like, oh, a lot of people are making money in crypto. Probably they are saying the right thing, and just getting fooled ultimately by these scams.
okay. So then there's the another category of scams which I actually Jaydevan sent me some reels to watch on Insta. Man, poor guy, you need to give him some sort of allowance because he's forced to watch this sort of stuff for work. ये आप अपने घर में नोट छापने की मशीन लगवा लो एंड they seem to be targeting, people at the bottom of the pyramid from a socio-economic point of view. And it looked very convincing. Ki, yes, oh, I can just do this and make 1 lakh rupees very, very easily. It's obvious to me that it is a scam, but can you tell me what exactly is
Sure.
happening there or what are people getting caught in?
Sure. So I think one another type of scam which is happening is mining, right? As we know that, I'll not go into the technicalities, but like crypto, whenever a transaction get approved, because there is no central party like a bank, and if say I'm doing a transaction with you, I pay a fee to the network. Now to approve that transaction, a lot of computers are needed to validate those transactions. And once a transaction is validated, all those computers which helped validate the transaction will receive a reward from the blockchain. In say in case of Bitcoin, you will receive all those computers will receive a part of the Bitcoin as an earning. And this is mining, where you put a hardware, you pay electricity cost. That machine tries to validate transactions on blockchain, and if it is successfully validating that transaction, you will receive a reward from the blockchain. Now it's a very it's a business done from almost obviously from the time that Bitcoin was launched, right? Now people are coming up with new methods of gaining advantage or scamming people by selling this hardware, saying that, oh, with 1 lakh rupee I will give you this computer which can mine Bitcoins. You already know the price of Bitcoin is reaching almost 90 lakh today, and this computer now can mine just 1 lakh rupees, and it can mine probably 9 lakh worth of or point 0.1 Bitcoin every month itself, or every 3 months itself, right? And people feel like, oh, there's a good investment with 1 lakh rupee or machine. I can earn probably 3 lakh a month itself, and they go and buy that machine. But they don't realize that these machines are very very underpowered. They have no chance of validating blockchain transactions. Mining is a very competitive space. If it was such a free money available, then probably Nvidia will not build those chips, and they rather build mining chips, because there's just so much money to be made on that, right? So all of everyone would just connect their computers or hardwares to mine Bitcoin if it's such a profitable trade. It's not. There are mining techniques which helps you do better, but there are a lot of risk associated with it. The hardware gets limited. The hardware evolves, so your entire investment becomes zero, because that hardware is no longer enough capacity to validate these transactions. The cost of Bitcoin, the cost of electricity, all of these play a very very big part. So these mining farms are profitable in very very small segments where electricity cost is much cheaper. You have availability of a hardware which is not a normal computer but ASICs, advanced chips, which are just meant to mine Bitcoin, and it's a very very competitive, and a lot of miners actually lose money. They hope that the price of Bitcoin keeps on rising, so that ultimately they will end up earning profit on top of it, right? So please don't fall into these scams as well. In India, mining is not at all something that could be profitable. Maybe in a very small segment where electricity could be made very very cheaply, it can be, but for a general user, this is not at all worth investment.
Fair. The other stuff that I've heard about is essentially meme coins. I have very recently something about the Trump coin, something happened
Yes.
there. What's that space?
Sure. So again, to that may not be a scam altogether, but that looks like a scam from outside to a lot of people. But I'll tell you both the sides, right? Because I'm in the industry, I understand both sides of this ecosystem. The meme trend, I think, started long back with Doge, not the Department of Government Efficiency, but Dogecoin itself, which was trying to make fun of Bitcoin. It was launched as a parody of Bitcoin back, I think, in 2013, 14, as if I remember it correctly, or like very very early, right? And people started creating value on those meme coins, because ultimate value is buy and sell. If somebody is willing to buy at a price, that crypto or that token becomes that price itself. So during the last 3 years, you will see a lot of memes coming out. Cat memes, dog memes, which will create billions and billions worth of crypto ecosystem marketplaces. And Trump, Melania was part of these ecosystems, which basically based on a hype that exists already. You create a token which maybe your fan base will end up buying, selling, trading on. It's more of, I won't call it a scam, but it's more uh, fun way of a community to interact. But people see that as a way to make money. And then a large set of investors come in who pumps and dumps these coins, and end up people who were supposed to be just part of a community and use those coins now get scammed because the price just fluctuates too heavily. They buy it up, make the price maybe 5,000% jump, which attracts a lot of new investors who don't know anything about it, but obviously would know Trump, who has been elected as the president, would see that, oh, maybe there is something in this, end up buying it, and they dump the price altogether because their supply is very limited to very few holders, and they can manipulate the market in any way possible. It's not a regulated market, and that's the reason like these things can happen without breaking laws as well, and that's why you see the president launching such a coin. But I usually advise people to stay away. If you're a new crypto user, please stick to the older ones which are actually creating some value in the ecosystem. Maybe 5% of your investment could go into memes if you prefer that, if you have learned that, but most of it should lie with a more stable like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. These are the chains that you should bet on, which has a long-term future. These memes are like fads, which are there today, may not be there tomorrow. You want to make quick money, maybe you think that you can make money, play with a small amount that you're willing to lose. But if you want to do a crypto as an investment class, hold it for long term. These fads may come and go. It was ICOs, it was NFTs, now it's meme coins, maybe it will be something else altogether the next time we speak. But I'm not asking you to stay away from it. If as a user you want to play with it, but play with the money that you can lose. It doesn't hurt your portfolio overall.
Understood. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. What we are talking about is things that start as a joke, then get exaggerated, and then leads to some people becoming collateral damage of the entire thing. Would that be fair assessment of what meme coins are doing?
I think that's a much better explanation that I did for the last 5 minutes. I think you summed it up pretty well.
That is something that people will very easily understand in today's world, considering how jokes are getting exaggerated and getting people into trouble in India as well. So as far as crypto is concerned, I don't really know that many people who got scammed or lost money because of meme coins or the FTA and the KRO and the Bitconnect sort of stuff. Folks in my network, people who I know directly who have scammed, I don't know if is the appropriate word, but who have lost money in bulk in crypto one is the WazirX hack. The other one is the Vauld thing that happened, which it was promoted, at least I first heard about it as a fixed deposit. And then, I heard about bunch of friends, people I know personally losing a shit ton of money in Vauld. What exactly happened there, and how can I avoid that? See, because MLM I know how to avoid because I have been avoiding MLMs for many years, so that's not really a challenge. Meme coin is something that I don't even understand any bit what's happening, so I would not be involved, and I believe I'm pretty safe. So, but Vault, it was just, I didn't explore too much, was lazy, that's why I didn't invest. Otherwise, I would have 100% invested because so many of my friends did. So, what went wrong there, and how can I protect myself from stuff like Vault happening? And along with that, how can I protect myself from stuff like WazirX happening? So, all of these scams, how do I protect myself is what my question is.
Sure. So, I think Vault was another example of, I would say, greed. If somebody offers you 26% return on your investment, you'll feel like, oh, fixed deposit is giving me 7, probably 6. And best of the best stock investors probably give you maybe 15. Maybe some will be the outliers, but like in general, you'll get probably 10 to 15 if somebody giving me risk-free 26% return, and you as a user are not doubting it, then there's something wrong, right? It is to the level that some blockchains like Luna also did, which kind of promised users a 26% APY, and ultimately it all went to zero, right? So these are the scams that, or I would not call it a scam. Maybe they started with the right intentions, but it ultimately hurt the user in a way, because they gave a promise of 26% returns. Now, to generate 26%, you have to take risky bets with the money of your users in the backend. So, what my understanding of that fiasco is that the crypto that users were buying and staking for 26% APY were used on taking positions which the founder or the team did themselves. Some very risky positions they took on users' money, which is a super no-no in any company. And that is why the separation has to be that users' money is users' money. You can't take it out. You can't play with that money itself. And ultimately, a bear market hit, market went down, and all those bets went sideways. And users ended up losing money because they assumed that they will get 26% return on it, but ultimately those were invested into very bad, risky strategies, which ended up collapsing. Something similar happened with FTX as well. If you look in the US, right? There also some Indians would have lost money because it was a global exchange, but it was at a much, much, much bigger level, where the company itself took positions into the market through the money funded by the users, right? So any exchange that you are choosing, you need to ensure that few basic things are absolutely correct before you trust them with your money. First thing is obviously their security. So the hacks do not happen. And security is not just that, oh, I have A, B, C, so my security is 100%. Security is an evolving game. So think of a team which is more technical, have been existing in the space for a while, and have showcased good governance over a period of time. Use custodies which are probably SOC type 2 certified already. Take probably are ISO certified, and take security as a most important thing for their exchange. Second, if you invest in an exchange, make sure that they don't take your money and do any random thing with it. They simply store on your behalf rather than taking positions with that money. So please do read their terms to ensure that when you invest on that exchange, they are not allowed to take positions or take your money and do whatever with it, right? And obviously, other good things to look out for is the financial backing, because the more funds a company has, it talks about their financial independence. Like in case of WazirX, I spoke about that. We were managing our users' fund, and WazirX, we had kept some money on WazirX, which got stolen, but ultimately we had enough INR at the company level to be able to compensate for that loss. So our users didn't lose a single rupee in that process, because we ensured that the money we have, we kept extra money to ensure that we are able to absorb any such incident that happens. Even today, we only keep 5% of our funds on third party exchanges, because we have to work with third party exchanges to provide the best liquidity to our users, but ensuring that when you are relying on somebody else as an exchange or relying on other exchanges, you need to ensure that your risks are minimum and you have that much money that in case worst case happens, your users are not impacted. So these are the few things that user need to be aware of. If somebody is promising you exceptionally high returns, please question it 10 times. How I question it, I can give you my hack. I would say that if something is too good, or if somebody is giving me say 25% return, I ask them that why don't you just go to Warren Buffett, take billions of dollars from it, and why wouldn't he invest? His returns are yearly aren't 25, maybe aggregate they are now, but in this market nobody is earning 25. So if such a tool exists, why aren't every millionaire, billionaire of this world is rushing to you and investing your money with it? Why are you coming to me, who's probably doesn't have enough money to invest in you, right? So like asking basic question, not falling into that greed bucket, removes most of the bad products from your vicinity. But if you're entering crypto with a long term perspective rather than doubling your money in a day or two, you can choose wisely by looking at exchanges who are take security as their p0s, have been existing in this space for a while, manages big money, funded by big people, have good value, reputation in the market, ISO certified, FIU India registered. So these are the few precautions that you can take in this space.
Fair. So let's say if I have to keep my crypto somewhere, one is that I keep it with me. I don't know how to keep it with me. Actually, there is a friend of mine, Shobit.
Yes.
Just before the hack happened, I used to have my crypto on BitBNS, and there used to be a little bit of an issue there. I heard some rumors happening there, and I used to have it on BitBNS because the founder of BitBNS is someone I know via a friend of a friend. Same thing happened with WazirX also. I knew Nishchal via a friend of a friend. So that was the reason to trust them. But clearly that wasn't enough. So that's why my friend Shobit said that we'll take it out and we'll keep it on a cold wallet or something like that. I'm not quite sure what all that is. My question is that what do you recommend to your users? Should they continue to keep it on CoinSwitch itself, or
Sure.
they should also take it out? Not your keys, not your coins is
Sure.
what you are a proponent of.
No, absolutely. So, so in India or anywhere else as well, right? 99% of the people would not know how to manage a wallet themselves, how to secure a key themselves. So it's similar to can you get a bank level security vault installed in your home? Maybe some people can and can afford to and can take care of that security, but many users would not want that complexity, would simply go to a bank and take a bank locker because they assume that bank has taken all the right precautions, and they don't know that complexities as well, right? They don't need to know those complexities, and that's how every industry works. I also believe that as a user, you can choose both parts. Either you can learn enough to be able to secure yourself, then obviously you can trust yourself the best. You can withdraw those cryptos, store it in a hardware wallet, maybe Ledger, Treasure, anything that you like, and take care of it yourself. The security of it, the seed phrase security on yourself, and make sure that nobody can touch it unless something goes wrong with your security itself. For most of the users, they would trust exchanges because they don't know these complexities well enough to secure it themselves. For them, we play that part to ensure that our users don't feel that their security is at risk, and we take all these precautions to enable users. Now, the choice lies to the user. Today in India, one nuance that exists is that exchanges like us cannot provide crypto withdrawals. The reason for that is PMLA. Cryptos, as you know, are peer-to-peer phenomena. There is no third party dictating whether Ashish can transfer to Ravi or Ravi can transfer to Ashish. If we want to, we can transfer to each other. Now, I can transfer to outside countries as well, to any one of my friend in US or any other country as well. So, how does government enforces capital control, which is that in India for a financial year you can't transfer more than $250,000 outside India. Crypto can break that rule because it's peer to peer. There is no validation. In case of a bank account transfer, say you're transferring money to somebody in US, bank reports that to RBI to ensure that you are in the white and you're following all the legal procedures for that. In crypto, that does not exist, right? So until the regulation comes in, it becomes harder for us to provide withdrawal facility to the users, but eventually that will happen. Once the regulation comes in, it will allow us a framework through which we would be able to allow withdrawals. And in that case, I would say that people who are unaware or people who feel like exchanges can be a better place and they don't want to go deep, learn, and they want to keep it as investments. They don't plan to use crypto in any way. exchanges could be a better solution for them. People who feel that they can take care of the security themselves can, withdraw to their cold wallets and take care of the security of the seed phrase by themselves. So it comes to the complexity. It comes to the what user actually wants and is capable of.
So, Ashish, we have talked about, how can you lose money in crypto, and
Yes.
then we talked about how to protect yourself.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I am going to lose money, or I need to protect my crypto. I need to do all of that if I enter into crypto.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll enter into crypto to make money
Make
at
money.
the end of the day. So, how do I actually make money in?
So before that, a user should answer one simple question, right? What does he want in his financial portfolio? What are the goals that the user is chasing, and what kind of risk that he and she can afford to take, right? So as any portfolio you're building, you don't go and invest everything, say, in one stock, or you feel like, oh, that's going to go up and I'll just put everything in it, right? You plan it, right? You say that, oh, some part of it I'll keep it in FD because any health emergency I should be able to withdraw quickly, transfer quickly. I will keep something in mutual fund through SIPs because I will average the price and not care about the market altogether, not push too much research or active participation. Some money I will keep for stock market where I will actively invest and see the trends and probably make better returns than what my FDs and mutual funds are trying to make. Crypto is just another tool in that bucket, right? Figure out what kind of risk that you're, because crypto does come with risk and volatility. First, you need to ensure that what is your goal. If you're trying to hold it for long term, I'll say crypto, your portfolio should have crypto. If you're trying to think that, oh, within a month I will double my money and then go out of crypto, probably crypto is not right for you. Crypto is volatile. It can go up very, very quickly. It can go down very, very quickly as well. But on the longer run, we have seen in the last 10 years cycle, Bitcoin has outperformed every single investment class, right? But if you look at in silos, it could be from the worst performing to the best performing, right? So if you're holding for the long run, if your goal is to get alpha in your portfolio and your risk of your portfolio allows you to invest in crypto, I recommend usually 3 to 5% of your investment going into crypto for longer duration, right? Shorter duration, don't take short bets because you can't time the market no matter what market it is, be it crypto, be it stock, be it mutual fund, any market. You can't time the market, right? So start with maybe the top 3, 4 cryptos which exist. Probably keep 10% of your crypto portfolio investments as a bet, as something that you will experiment with, maybe with memes, maybe with a few L2 chains you will experiment with. But most of your money lies maybe among the top 4, which have seen the test of time, has stood there. The world is using those, investing in those, and may not give you 100% return in a month, but can give you the right alpha in your portfolio, right? So this is how I would recommend anyone looking at crypto as an investment class.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about this. First of all,
Sure.
when you're talking about the top 3, top 4, can you please name them?
Sure. So I usually avoid naming anything apart from Bitcoin and Ethereum, but in this case, I'll tell you what I would recommend at this point today, right? And what should be the my allocation. Obviously, everyone can choose their own allocation as per them, right? So for me, I think the top 4 would be probably Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and some bit of Ripple in it as well, or could be any other L2 chains that people are excited about. Let's and most of it lies in Bitcoin because Bitcoin has seen that adoption curve already. We have seen even the likes of BlackRock, Citadel investing and creating ETFs now. HNIs companies are getting into it. There are talks in the US about the Bitcoin reserves. So it has gotten to that mass adoption already. You might not see a lot of highs and lows that maybe the other cryptos are seeing, but there would be enough volatility still. And in the long run, it can give you that alpha in your portfolio. So I follow an 80-20 split even within the top 4. I keep 80 in Bitcoin and 20 spread across in others, maybe 15 or maybe 12 in Ethereum, maybe 6 or 7 in Solana, and maybe 1 or 2 in XRP, right? So like this is how I personally follow, and obviously the bottom ones can keep on changing. Bitcoin, Ethereum have proven the test of time, and that is why deserves a slightly higher investment. And over time, you can obviously reshuffle as you see fit.
Understood. So let's talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum only, and because those are the two main ones that you are talking about, and also because I have exposure in Bitcoin and Ethereum, to
Sure,
be
sure.
really honest. So let's say if I'm looking at it purely from a long-term perspective, and the reason the discussion that I'm trying to have is crypto for early retirees, and that's how I see crypto as maybe it is a long-term asset. Maybe it is not, and I can lose the entire money that I have put in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yes.
If I lose the entire money I put in Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's not really going to make a significant difference to my lifestyle, so to say.
Yes.
So it'll hurt me if I lose that money, but
Yep.
I'll not be on the road if
Yeah.
that
It doesn't
happens.
changes your plans. It
It
obviously
doesn't change my
you earn money through hard
plans.
work, and it hurts you when you lose even 1 rupee. But it doesn't changes your future plans as you're looking from a retirement standpoint.
So my question is now, whenever I'm planning, what sort of uh, projections I can have between something which has a possibility of going to zero, and if I look at it from a 10-year perspective, it has probably become what, 100 times or 10 times. I don't even know how much it has become in the last 10 years. So planning becomes really, really difficult.
Yes.
Now, I fully understand that the next 10 years for Bitcoin, even if it is immensely successful, it's not going to give me the same amount of returns that it gave in the last 10 years. That's just not practical. Even if
Yeah.
Bitcoin becomes the only currency in the world which is operational, even then the similar sort of a bump up is not really possible in the next 10 years. So what's a realistic projection? How do I look at it as a part of my portfolio?
Sure. Sure.
Because what is,
So
there is no intrinsic value, to be really honest, in Bitcoin where you can project that, oh, its earnings will grow and that is why it would have this value, so to say. Uh,
yeah.
I hope I made my question clear, but just to
Yes. Absolutely.
summarize,
Absolutely.
uh, how should an early retiree think about crypto?
Sure, sure. So whenever you talk about early retirement, right, there are a lot of risk associated with the future. So early retirement could also mean that, oh, I need just a corpus of say 10 crore and I can live and I will retire at 35 and probably live rest of the life through that. But you don't know the how tax is going to change. You don't know whether the investments that you have done, how the markets would perform over time, and could really hurt your chances of that investment. So how do you plan for other markets? You're not saying that, oh, I would just have probably 10 crore as cash and not have any exposure or anything, but then also you're taking a bet on inflation, right? So ultimately retirement is planning for the future. It's not just crypto. Anything, be it inflation, be it even fixed deposit return, be it mutual fund return, although they will vary in a very like a fixed cycle, and crypto could vary like wildly as well, and maybe stock market could vary but not so wildly but higher than mutual fund and FD, right? So how do you predict today that how much you should be investing in the stock market, that at retirement you should be able to, you don't exit but you continue to invest and assume certain percentage of it returns to be given back to you? I think this is exactly how you would look at crypto as well. Obviously the fluctuations can be wild. First thing that you would not do with any other asset class is assuming that it'll go to zero. So if you put it in a FD or put it in a mutual fund, you will also not assume that it'll go to zero. It may have few fluctuations, but it will not ever go to zero, right? In crypto, I think if we just talk about Bitcoin, uh, my opinion also is that it can't go to zero at this point, and I'm biased. So please take it with a pinch of salt, because like I really been working in this space for a while. But say, even if say you take it that it can go to the zero, so first figure out what is the amount that will not hurt you in the long run. So say if your entire corpus of 10 CR, and you feel that, oh, with 9.5 as well, I can make good. It'll not hurt me that much. And with that 50 lakh, I can make that investment into crypto. Obviously, I will have stop losses. I can figure out, oh, it's 20 lakh where I'll exit and I'll book my 30 lakh loss, or 25, whichever you decide. And over time, you will see what it can generate. Now, nobody can predict the future, so nobody can say whether it will be 2x, 10x, or 100x from here, or just 1.1x from here, right? Since you have already decided that it doesn't hurt you losing that money, then whatever gain happens from it is anyway added return to your portfolio, which you should be able to sell at any given point in time, because you have already made peace with what you can live without, right? So rather than predicting into the market, you should feel like, should I have exposure to the market? Since there are so many volatile markets that I'm already part of, maybe not that fluctuating, but I'm already taking some bet when I'm retiring early, that assuming things will fall in place and few things will be here and there, but I'll be okay. And in that okay piece, if you feel like that losing that 20 lakh or 30 lakh is okay, then getting an exposure helps you get the upside of it. What if the ecosystem changes drastically, like we have seen in the last 1.5 years? To be honest, in the like, if you look back 1.5 years ago, everyone was so negative about it. There was like, once the ETF came in, it drastically changed. It gained from 30,000 to 100,000, or even beyond from there, right? So it just has happened in 1.5 years. Not taking an exposure, I would say, is a bigger risk in this ecosystem, rather than thinking about, because if you've already made up your plans of being okay if you don't make up or lose that money, then not getting exposure to Bitcoin is actually hurting your future, because maybe you'll be able to make better returns on it. Maybe that may offset any other risk that may arise in your portfolio later, not just from crypto, but any other thing during that cycle, because you can't predict the next 30, 40 years of your life if you're retiring early, right? So that, again, maybe my answer is not like to the point that, oh, this is the exact math you need to do. But what I'm trying to say is that there is volatility in everything. If you retire early, you have higher volatility, because you have higher longer to go. If you have longer to go, that means that you can't control what will happen. So figure out what is the risk that you can afford in that portfolio, hedge it, and not just in crypto, hedge it, all the portfolio, all of it to certain extent, and see whether this exposure makes sense for you. Whether the exponential returns or the zero returns in this would not make you lose your mind, and exponential return would maybe give you an added advantage in your years to come in your retirement, right? So that's how I would analyze it.
Fair. And I would like to, add a little bit from my end for the viewers. In my portfolio, how I typically look at it as, I have a risky bets portion in my portfolio, which is, I don't know what to call it, but for the lack of a better word, I consider it play money. It's investments that I have made, for example, in startups in the form of angel investing. Once again, it's a story. We don't know what's going to happen there. Probably even riskier than crypto, to be really honest. I have some bets in crypto, but I limited to a 5% of my portfolio sort of thing. So personally, I've set that 5% cap for myself, and you need to figure out what that amount is for you. Maybe for you, the amount would be 20%. Maybe the amount would be, 2% for you. But I don't think it should be 90% for anyone. And very similarly, I don't think it should be 0% for anyone. So you need to figure out what that number is for you. And one of the problems, Ashish, with having a crypto exposure, what I have faced is buying crypto is has been complicated for a very, very long time. It has become easier every year thanks to people who work in this field. So I'm guaranteed it's a lot easier in 2025 than it was in 2023. It was in 2021 versus every 2 years there is substantial improvement. But there are still a huge chunk of hurdles. And maybe just the buying selling part is simple. Taxation, because it comes under a separate VDA taxation, I believe that's what it's called. The platforms which generate those reports, and this is a very real. My CA does not understand that, man. If when I give him the transaction report which is generated, okay, how do I file taxes on it? It becomes a problem.
Yes.
So what I want to know from you, in case you have any insights, is will there be a Bitcoin mutual fund or a crypto mutual fund or a Bitcoin ETF which comes to me in a fully regulated form? HDFC Mutual Fund House has launched it. Do you see something like that happening in India? And if yes, when? Because I promise I would be a lot more comfortable investing in an HDFC Bitcoin ETF than the other stuff.
No, absolutely, right. So why mutual fund picked up? Because you don't get the underlying complexity of stocks, right? You don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to worry about, oh, this is going up, this is going down. Should I sell? Should I buy more? Nothing. You passively invest in it and be done with it. Taxation is very clear. When you sell, you clearly get you probably in your CAMS report that, oh, this is the long-term gain or a short-term gain applicable. You simply pay those tax, can be validated by IT, promise that you will never receive a IT notice if you are playing that and using that data to file your returns, right? Crypto, obviously, it's a little complex than that. I'll give you a story of the complexity, right? Why we exist is because of that complexity. In 2020, when we came into India, the idea was that we wanted to make it simple. Or say buying food was one click away on Swiggy, Zomato. Booking a cab was a click away, but crypto was you have to go to exchanges, understand complicated graphs and order books to even buy and sell, figure out at what price to buy and things like that. We try to make it simple. Just one click, you can buy any crypto that you want to, any amount that you want to. Our objective was that if our parents are able to buy crypto from our app, we knew that we would have made it simple enough, right? Because they knew nothing about this technology, nothing about the app. And luckily, my mom bought Bitcoin within a month of us launching without even telling me, and doing the KYC, everything on her own, and able to buy that, which told us, oh, we have actually simplified buying and selling. But over time, new complexities have added in. Like you mentioned, taxation is one another. Now, even in taxation, there are problems like, when you buy, when you sell, what is the buying price? Do you average, if you buy, sell, 5 times, 10 times, what is the average buy price that you take? What is the average sell price that you take at which you calculate the profit and loss, right? So at CoinSwitch, what we have tried to do is we have tried to generate a tax report, which becomes very, very easy for you. How you go to your broker today to generate a report for your, the stocks that you're buying and selling, and could easily tell you what is your liable and what is the tax you need to pay. We have tried to simplify that in CoinSwitch as well. You go to the CoinSwitch app, download your tax report, which will clearly tell you that, oh, these are the cryptos that you have bought and sold. Every crypto is a separate tab, gives you at what buy price, what sell price, captures all your transaction data, which you can simply showcase while filing for your taxes as well. So it has become simpler, but I get your point that if something like a mutual fund existed, which is one click, you don't have to worry about it. Everything is just taken care of, and it just fits into how you operate other asset classes. And this would happen. I'm 100% sure that this would happen, but regulations need to exist in India. For that to be able to, for other players to get into this market and create regulated products. I'm sure that a lot of people have tried building AIFs in India. already on crypto, and probably are not able to do that yet because it's an unregulated sector. And once the regulation comes in, probably within a quarter of that, you will see many AIFs getting in, PMSs getting in, getting exposure, and hopefully over time, mutual fund also offering that to the retail user, so that you don't have to worry about holding security and all those things. Like in US today, the ETFs have simplified, and ETFs have gained tremendous adoption. It has, even in just 1 year, it has beaten gold ETF. It has crossed 50 billion worth of investment in US just in 1 year, right? So why it has happened? Because of the simplifications. Crypto in itself is a bit complex. We have spoken about hacks, security, many different taxation, many other aspects which are complex in a way, which through regulation, once that comes in, people would take advantage of it, create products which are simple, which are one click products. You get in, you get out, you simply receive a statement of your tax bills, you pay your tax and be done with it. You don't have to worry about security, you don't have to worry about anything for that matters, taking out to your cold wallet, nothing. You simply, invest like you do an SIP in a mutual fund, and those things will happen. But it is at least 2 to 3 years away in India, maybe sooner if the regulation progresses in the right direction. But until that regulation exists, it will be very hard for anyone to come up with such simple products.
Fair. I thought you guys would get into it because you are as a company handling both aspects. Okay, we have crypto also. We have another
Yes.
company which does the traditional investments also. So hope you guys bring that out, or at least help other people, other established AMCs bring that out.
Yeah. So maybe it might be slightly late, because what would happen is that if the regulations have already come in, I think a lot of arbitrage exists in crypto because they are unregulated. So as and when the regulation starts to kick in, the value gets baked in to the asset class as well, right? As and when more clarity gets in, the price becomes or the demand and supply starts to equate, right? So that is the reason that if you look at 10 years ago where nothing existed versus today, there is a delta in what you have, because you have taken higher risk, so there is higher reward for it, and that's how it will go. Once it becomes mainstream, obviously there is many more things to do. Like in the US, you can see, after the ETFs, it has increased by almost 30% after the ETF as well. So maybe that delta would continue to exist, but the the sooner you take kind of exposure to it, uh, the better it becomes for you in the longer run, so that your aggregated returns are you know aggregated over a larger period, and from an uncertainty to certainty. Because once the certainty kicks in, then there is limit to the highs and lows into the ecosystem.
Fair. So I guess that's still 3, 4, or to some point in
Two to
future.
three, yes,
Two to
yes.
three. So if I have to invest today, you know, I'm sure CoinSwitch does that, but I want to invest today in a safe and a reliable manner.
Yeah.
Uh, so I can use CoinSwitch, I hope. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure.
And be any exchange, if I have to, I have to use to invest in crypto. How do I decide? I'll use CoinSwitch, I'll use X, I'll use Y. How do I decide whether these are safe and reliable platforms?
Sure, sure. I think first thing that you need to do is look at how long the company have been in the space, how big these companies are, how much that they manage of users already. We are the largest in India, have over 2 crore users, largest by far than any other player out there. Funded by the likes of Anderson Horowitz, Coinbase, Tiger, Ribbit, Paradigm, Sequoia, like every fintech leader in and around the world. We are actually, one of the only investment of Anderson Horowitz in India. Mark Anderson has never invested in India, and we are the only company in India who he has invested in. Right. Also, look at FIU registered entities in India. What is FIU? FIU is Financial Intelligence Unit, which manages PMLA. So, अगर आप banks देखेंगे, stock brokers देखेंगे, all of those are registered with FIU. Although their licenses are separate, banks get licenses from RBI, stockbrokers get it from SEBI. Crypto doesn't have a regulator yet, but it still reports and works with FIU to ensure that these scams, the financial activities are kind of in the white. Any wrong thing happening on these platforms get reported, are investigated, and are prosecuted. Right. So this gives this kind of industry a slightly better outlook in terms of creating positive environment for the users, ensuring that there are lesser risk of fraudulent transactions happening on these platforms. So look at FIU registered companies in India. Benefit of using Indian exchanges is obviously simplification of your taxes. Today, you can open account in any exchange, but they may not deduct TDS for it, may not comply with the local laws. So it's also beneficial for the users to comply with the laws rather than saving 1% here and there and getting into trouble later on, right? Also, ISO certification do help as well, which obviously CoinSwitch has, not just ensuring the security of the platform, but also ensuring data security of the users, right? I think and rest assured, right, that over time, once the regulation comes in, it will be much tighter, much bigger. Today, we exist in a self-regulatory framework. When, as a user, you're choosing a platform of your choice, obviously you can have your parameters, but make sure that company is financially stable, has good set of custody providers, good with FIU registrations, ISO certifications, and the track record. These are the few things that you can look at while choosing the right platform for you.
Fair. Now, this is going with the idea that, okay, I'll invest in Bitcoin and the price would go up. What are some other ways of making money from crypto? The one that I heard about from a friend of mine was airdrop. Sounds like money falling from the helicopter or something like that. So can you tell me a bit more about that? What happens there?
So a lot of these projects which comes up in crypto, and projects in crypto, think of them like startups. They're trying to solve a use case, trying to find as many users and validate whether the use case that you're solving is big enough or not, right? Think of, say, Zomato or Swiggy, for example. They started delivering food to a very small segment in Bangalore and Delhi, and then later realized, oh, a lot of people need it, and then grew and became so big that they are today, right? Crypto projects are part of this ecosystem, trying to solve a use case. To solve a use case, they create a community around people who are their initial testers, who are initial builders, giving them feedback, and in return, they give them their token. That is called airdrop. Once their tokens, say, are listed on exchanges, then these users can either hold it or sell it at profit because they've received it for no only the work done, no monetary value received, no monetary value given to receive those, right? So they are received for free, and then they can, once that token has value, is listed, they can probably sell it and make profit from it. I think that's another way to make money, but it's hard to find the right airdrop because there's so many projects launching every single day. Find the right ones. Getting to the right project is much harder. There is a community in India which helps do that, and a lot of Telegram groups, a lot of Discord channels which help because it's a global phenomenon. It's not just Indian searching for it, it's worldwide. You can participate in these ecosystems. So a lot of people are trying to do that, but it's much harder for a retail investor to start with airdrops directly.
Before we wrap this up, what are 3 things I can do to become a better crypto investor?
I think first analyze how much crypto makes sense in your portfolio. What is the percentage that you're okay letting go, but having that alpha in your portfolio for the long run. Second, be ready that there would be volatility. Don't get spooked if the market falls by 5% one day and then goes up again 10%. So be used to that volatility as well, because it does take time. It is, unlike other asset classes, highly volatile, right? And third, be here for a longer duration. If you're here for the longer duration and probably started investing in the top ones itself, over time you will get opportunities to find other coins to get into. Don't start with an idea of making 10x and finding that hidden gem, because most often than not, you will end up losing. Start with a very clear goal in your mind. start with a long-term perspective which avoids volatility, panics, and make sure that you start with the top 2 or 3 cryptos, and with maybe 10% of your of your crypto portfolio set aside for taking bets over time, but most of it in stable. And once you get used to it, used to the market, understands the market slightly better, then you can take more steps further. But I think these are the 3 things that I would call out for any new investor getting into the crypto market.
Thanks for those tips and thanks for coming to our show, Ashish. And to our users, I would request to please consider having crypto as a part of your portfolio. I hope this discussion would have helped. If it did help, please remember to like this video and to subscribe to our channel. That's it for today. Hope you continue watching. Next week, we will get back to our regular programming with mutual funds, stocks, and all that. Thank you.